Hi everyone! Today we're going to be talking about motivation and specifically different techniques you can use to ensure that your team is enthusiastic and motivated about working in You Build It, You Run It. This is crucial because your team's morale and their sentiment towards You Build It, You Run It will have a huge part of ensuring it's successful. In my experience, the most common reasons for a lack of success in implementing You Build It, You Run It fall into two categories. Firstly, a failure to implement the operational and logistical things needed for the model to succeed. And secondly, a failure to consider the team's motivations in relation to a new way of working. Today, I'm going to be talking about the second point and how you can go about motivating your team to embrace You Build It, You Run It. So let's get into it. Before we jump in, I'll provide a bit of background. These techniques are informed by the work of Shona Waters. Shona works for an organisation called Better Up, who drive optimal performance in teams and holds a PhD in industrial organisational psychology and statistics. So Shona is also an ICF certified coach, and you can find links to some of her work in the video description, including more information about motivating teams. In one excellent piece by Shona, she suggests that there are 5 different types of intrinsic motivation. And today I'm going to briefly run through each one of those and describe how you can use it to make sure you can motivate your team when adopting a You Build It, You Run It operating model. So the first one is a learning motivation. This basically means that you're driven by the act of learning, by trying out new things and developing your skill set. You're driven by accumulating knowledge and to improve your performance and to be more effective in your role as a result. So how does learning motivation relate to You Build It, You Run It? In a You Build It, You Run It model, your developers are able to see how customers use the features that they've built. And this is because they're involved in supporting the service once it's live. By seeing how people interact with the service you build, you develop enormous insights into the features and the best support your customer needs. With these learnings, the team can prioritize and build features that will make their service or their product infinitely more effective. So they're learning and dramatically improving their output as a result. So this is not quite true of an ops running model because the team is not involved with the operations of their software. So they're nowhere near as close to the customer. They're building things in isolation, so they don't get the same learning opportunities. The second motivation is attitude motivation, and it's about being positive, being driven to feel good about the work that you've done. So how can we use this to motivate teams in You Build It, You Run It? So look for opportunities to praise your team, to create that sense of accomplishment. Given that You Build It, You Run It empowers teams to have greater ownership, there's going to be many examples where this can occur. One example could be highlighting the number of incidents that the team identifies and how rapidly they've been able to fix them. Or you've saved X amount of money for the organisation because you preempted that incident and implemented a fix. It's all about creating that sense of accomplishment, making the team feel valued and important. The third motivation is achievement motivation. So achievement motivation is simply about achieving a result. There's no reward or compensation. It's just about getting things done. You Build It, You Run It is extremely potent in helping teams to achieve more. So for example, you might be able to deploy new features to production weekly or even daily, in comparison to monthly or quarterly batch deployments. We've helped teams go from 10 deployments a year to over 4,000 without a correlating rise in incidents. So if teams are motivated by getting things done, working in a You Build It, You Run It operating model can provide an enormous sense of achievement. The fourth motivation is creative motivation. So some people are motivated by solving complex problems. Here, people and teams are driven by being creative and having opportunities to express their lateral thinking. This is defined as creative motivation. So these types of teams or people will resent being micromanaged. And by telling them you're working in You Build It, You Run It, and you're inheriting operations, they'll see themselves as executional, and they'll likely mentally check out before they've even begun. You Build It, You Run It is an exceptional way to provide teams with more ownership, and this creates opportunities for creative problem solving. So rather than say things like, I need this thing fixed and it's your responsibility, you could say, we want to reduce our number of incidents by 10%. What can you build or implement to achieve this goal? In You Build It, You Run It, teams own both the development and the operations of the software. So there are many opportunities for creative minds to implement fixes. So number 5 is physiological motivation. So this one's a little trickier. It refers to basic needs like food and water. So think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the very lowest level of that pyramid. Things like food, shelter, sleep, and clothing. So in my opinion, this really links back to remuneration. If developers are required to provide out-of-hours support, and they may not always have to in a You Build It, You Run It model, you need to remunerate appropriately. I've got a whole other video planned about this topic, so check back in soon where we'll go through some techniques to ensure that everybody wins when it comes to their compensation. It's important to understand that those motivations are different for each person within your team, so you cannot apply a one-size-fits-all. So take the time to find out what each team member is motivated by, and use that to make sure that you have a fully motivated team. So there you have it, 5 simple techniques you can use to motivate your team if you're implementing You Build It, You Run It. When you implement these correctly and consistently, you're going to have a greater shot at success and therefore a greater chance of reaping the many benefits of You Build It, You Run It. As always, please like and share this video and subscribe to the channel if you found this useful. And don't forget to check back for more on You Build It, You Run It, getting the best out of your teams and delivering value for your business. See you next time.